was in prayer, just all by myself, just praying for my city, praying for my location. And when I persisted in the prayer for a few days, the hand of God came into the room and I was knocked off. I fell under the intense presence of God that has formed in that place. And when I fell under the intense presence of God, the Lord took my spirit and we went into the past. Then I saw men that God had previously raised to bear witness of his name and his resurrection in my city. These men that God raises, there is something that he gives them. And the moment he gives them that thing, they start becoming prominent. Their voice is heard. People's hearts turn to them. Now you might think the reason why people hear you is because you're on social media. There's a bishop in my city. He's also on social media. Gets like 5 views, 7 views, 10 views. So he's so angry at me. The reason why he's angry at me is he believes that I'm the one that obscured the room. Social media is like the sky, for God's sake. Now, I don't know, it's once in my lifetime when we were airborne that I saw another plane. Once, just once. And where was that? In the US. Yes. Have you ever seen any plane? Maybe you sit by the window seat. Have you ever seen any plane by the... I say, hey, how are you? Only once. And I tell you, I have really been airborne. So if there's anything there, I should have seen it. It's once in my flight time, I looked through my window and saw another plane. And the reason why it was so is because in their own airports, they have different runways, not like this, our standard gauge. They have different runways. So as you are coming in, somebody's going out and the other, in fact, 4 or 5 planes can land at the same time. So that's why I saw the sky is so vast. The fact that you are flying, you have not done it. The next one that wants to fly has enough room. He thought that if he stays on social media, there's a platform to talk, that human beings will hear you. He doesn't know that what makes people hear you is that Jesus gives you something. So I saw these preachers. Jesus will give him something. Then he starts becoming influential. Start becoming influential. So the real thing God gives you, that we human beings interpret as blessing, is influence. That's the real thing he gives you. He gives you influence. That's what he gives you. It is through that influence that so many things happen. But the real thing he gives you is influence. And that influence is tied to a spiritual deposit. The moment he removes that deposit, the influence will wane. Even if you are so smart that you build an administration around the influence, which many people have been trained to do. So that even if God is not there, they can still have some things tracked. They can have people in a charismatic zoo. But God is no longer there. They come and feed them rations. The tigers will jump. But God has left. But the people were smart enough to set up an administration. At some point, the God that is in the system is the administration, because God has left. When God leaves, influence will begin to wane. You will need human methods to keep things going. And when you begin to use human methods to keep things going, Satan will propose himself to become the head of the synagogue. He will take the place of God, because God has left. Everything is still going on, but the source has changed. And that's why Paul had to tell us where his source was from. The ek has changed. The origin has changed. So God put that influence on that preacher, one preacher. Name will tell, because most of you are from that place. So if I start mentioning names, you will know what. And then when you know the name, you are no longer listening to the message, you are analyzing the person. So this preacher grew. He expanded. The city began to gather to him. He died. When he died, 12 years later, Jesus took the same thing, put on another man. This man that died was a man that was the original man trained for that role. But because of a little carelessness, he was exposed at some point and he was cut down. The second man that they gave after 12 years was not prepared for the role, didn't know there was any role like that. But because Jesus wanted to hold sway in the land, this guy is not prepared. They gave him. When they gave him, he started becoming influential. People believed him. People began to gather around him. And because he was not prepared for the role, he thought he was the one that was the star. He used to boast. Big guy. When I went there, I saw the lady that was the secretary. I knew he had died because we went to the same campus with that lady, the same university with that lady. So in this boasting that he was boasting, he couldn't see this lady. Oh, I pity. That was the last time I visited the place. I knew that he was dead. I knew he was dead. The next time I saw him, he was so sick that I don't want to describe he died. He died a shameful death. Then the mantle was given to somebody else that was not ready. Young people began to gather to him. Young people began to gather. Something began to take place. The moment you are giving that mantle, there's a demon. A demon, how will I describe this demon? It is standing erect, but it has the shell of a tortoise. That demon will come. The first thing the demon will do is that if there are people that are praying for you, somebody that's committed to praying for you, it will disconnect you from that person. And I don't want to mention names. I would have shown you the pattern from the first one, because that's what Jesus showed me in this encounter. From the first one to the second one, the same pattern. When that prayer support is withdrawn, you begin to lose your life of holiness. And just like that lady on our campus struck this man, you become interested to people that will destroy, that are destructive, that Satan had trained in the art of destruction. And then Jesus told me, we will give you this thing, but you have 8 years to prepare. Within these 8 years, meanwhile, and that's a privilege. I'm not a good person. I don't even know why Jesus decided to choose me, because I'm not as strong as any one of these people. So in terms of strength, I don't have it. He said, we will give you this thing, but we'll give you in 8 years' time. Do you know that the noisiest season of that city was that 8 years? So many noisemakers rose, and I knew from the revelation of Jesus that none of them had anything. May you not be among people that make noise. Go and look for Jesus. I beheld this your city, and I saw a wilderness, a vast wilderness, and only few altars that had the color green. The other altars were brown, some were black. So, green means it's alive. Brown means it used to be here. Black means it's gone. And I saw congregations gathering around brown altars. I saw some others gathering, big congregation around three black altars. God was saying something used to be here. Sustained by administration. Those 8 years were loud years. People were. I said, if you do well. It was not as if the promise was unconditional. He said, if you do well. Because I know the original person that was meant for the mantle. That one was trained for it. None of us was trained for it. So he said, if you do well, I will test you with this. in 2019 in August. On the 19th day of August 2019, that was where the shofar was blown in heaven, announcing my own rising. The shofar was blown on the 19th of August 2019, but the season, we began to experience the season in March 2020. And anytime there was something maybe great that happened and I wanted to celebrate, he would say, if you behave well. Do you know that statement? He was just trying to make me understand that, you see, this thing is conditional. You were not the one that was originally designed for this. So if you behave well, if you behave well, if you behave well,